Alrighty, welcome to Supernatural Signals, my haunted journal edition. If you're new here, this is my haunted journal. It's where I casually yap about what's going on in my life, especially anything supernatural I'm experiencing. I also, I also show channel updates, everyday life with my boyfriend nicknamed Kermie, and thoughts on things in the media like true crime. Though the supernatural is always the main focus. Hi, buddy. On this channel, you'll find three types of content: this haunted journal series, short mini mysteries that you can find over on my shorts tab, and longer investigative deep dive videos. So if you're interested in any of that, especially in the supernatural nature, please consider subscribing. Thank you. Let me get my co-host under control. Okay, he is now eating a Kong, which if you don't know what those are, they're like this little cylinder thing that you can put like peanut butter and stuff on there. But he loves peanut butter, so he is having a Kong. He didn't have one today, so he's chowing down. So if you hear him, excuse that. Just how I have my things set up right now. Hopefully one day I'll have a more proper area to record, but these are my children. Kitty is super cute right now. She has a little smile on her face sleeping. And I don't know if y'all know, like with cats, they do that little like, I don't know how to describe it, but she has this cute little like it turns up her like little lips when she's sleeping. It's cute. I don't know how to describe it, but she's being super cute. She's asleep, and Buddy's chowing down on a Kong. Now, this might be a bit of a Frankenstein makeshift podcast because I keep starting to record it. I'll go on a spiel for like 40 minutes and then I take a break from it to go into the next topic. And then I'm like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. And my brain's been on and off tired. I've been mentioning that lately. So that's also part of it. And I've just been having some fun with my boyfriend. We've had some days that we could really hang out and it's been nice. And yeah, so it's been a lot of things going on as far as getting this recorded. So I don't know if I'm going to bring over some of the stuff I talked about in a previous one. I think I've done it twice. This will be the third time. I think I'm just going to do it brand new, just run it through and call it a day. Because I think I'm just having trouble of like focusing on like what my channel's supposed to be, right? And I was thinking, like, maybe I should just do haunted journals, right? And I promise I'll get into the topic for today. I will have timestamps down below if you're new here. But I was like, maybe I should just do haunted journal podcast. And I'm like, well, then I don't want to get rid of supernatural signals and things. And then I was like, do I still want to do investigative videos? And then like some of my larger view count videos are my more investigative videos. And so I'm like, well, why would I not do those then? And I enjoy doing them, but I love to yap clearly. And I was talking to HG, and I was like, I just don't know what to do. And he's like, just keep doing them all, like your mini mysteries. He's like, you don't have to like just because you're not recording. And if you don't know who HG is, he's basically like a father figure to me. He's someone that's helped me a lot in the supernatural realm, I guess. Tries to in the human realm, but anyway, it's kind of an inside joke. But like I it's just, and then a lot of just stuff going on in my mind that nothing I can control. It's just I don't know. So it's just stuff on my mind on a personal level, and just I don't know, just trying to put where my energy needs to go, right? And that's also kind of like with this topic of the video. I'm like, so besides all that, like on a personal level for these videos, I'm like, do I want to keep talking about true crime, because true crime really gets to me emotionally, um if you can't tell from my previous videos, or should I just focus on just supernatural, right? But I've always said I feel like there's a crossover with supernatural and true crime. I really do. I feel like our whole lives has been a crossover with the supernatural and we just didn't realize it. That's my theory. And if you're into the supernatural, then like it would make sense, right? This isn't our real reality, right? That we've been experiencing, right? Or what we thought we've been experiencing. Let's put it that way. So I'm kind of just, I don't know. I just am in a weird headspace of what I'm doing with my channel and like what's the overall goal, right? You know what I mean? I want to keep it obviously, but I just no pressure on it, right? And um yeah, I'm just kind of in a, I don't know. I don't know. Like, there's some times where I'm just like, maybe I should just do short forward content. You know what I mean? And it's like, that would be easier. I get more views on those, but I'm like, no, I don't. I don't like short. I don't know. I'm I'm figuring out. I'm figuring out. But for now, I'm gonna do those three types of videos that I have, and that I mentioned in the intro of the podcast. But if you're wondering where my head's been at, I'm probably overthinking a little bit, but I have a lot on my mind. If you know, you know. So I guess in everyone's life, right? Um, so besides all that, on the update on the channel, let's get into. So with that all said, I'm still keeping the same format. I just might not have like a lot of investigative videos at times. I might have a bunch of investigative video times. I might just throw out a bunch of shorts. You know what I mean? It just varies, and I'm not gonna be like hard on myself if I don't put out investigative videos or a certain type of video at this time, right? Like I'm just gonna do what is on my mind and what I want to talk about, right? So there's that in case you cared. So let's move on. Usually on this channel, on this haunted journal, I kind of do updates on the channel, which I just did. And then I like to talk about entertainment things, like things I've been watching, movies I've been into, video games, TV shows if I'm watching one, and books, because Carmi and I did start reading a book, so I'll mention that. But we just started reading, and we're only like 30-ish pages in, so just started. But I'll just read the back to you, and then so I'll go over some stuff I've been watching, reading, listening, etc. That might be a little longer because I've actually been consuming a lot more content lately in that area, and then we'll move on to the David case because I have been following that story. The David case is where I get like, I start going and then I'm like, it's gonna be 5 minutes of an update, and then I'm just going for almost 30 minutes, and I'm like, okay, it's a lot, right? And if you can't tell how my brain is wired, and especially right now, which is my brain is just all over the place because I've been thinking about a lot of things, right? Supernatural wise, human wise, personal wise, Kermie and I relationship, which is great, by the way. It's like the only thing that is good. Well, not the only thing, but like, y'all know what I'm saying. Like, it's like the only thing I understand, I guess, to some extent, right? And then my babies, of course. But it it's just like, how everything is just like, you have like this going on and this going on and this going on and this going on and this going on, and they're all little departments, right? And it just feels like they're all spread out, and I don't know how to connect them in my life right now. So I hope that makes sense. And sometimes I have the habit of like almost like coping with the bigger thought of things by just like looking at smaller things, and or distracting myself with the smaller things in life in comparison to other things, right? In order to like forget about like the bigger thing. I don't know, right? Like a thing where it's like I'm aware of it, but there's nothing I can do about it. So it's like I don't know. I don't know. And again, nothing didn't get any bad news or anything like that. It's just thinking about stuff, right? So let's move on from that weird topic. Sorry, I'm not trying to be one of those vague weird people. It just whatever. But let's move on to entertainment stuff, and then we'll go into supernatural paranormal updates that I've been experiencing, because I've been experiencing a lot. And it's funny because I stumbled across one of my old videos because I was looking for something else when I first got Buddy, my dog, and the paranormal stuff like really ramped up. And I had weird stuff that happened over in my bed, which I'll talk to about in a minute after I talk about entertainment stuff. But and it like all connects, and that's another thing where it's just like my brain with all this paranormal stuff, it's like I'm trying to connect it to something, and I'll talk about that more when we get to supernatural talking. But that's the other thing where I'm just like, I don't know how this all connects, and it's confusing me. So let's first get into the more fun things, entertainment stuff. Okay, so first thing is I started playing some more point and click video games, which I really enjoy. um the first one I played is from a Detective Grimoire series that came out, I believe, in like 2000. The original one came out in 2007, and it was like the original Flash game, and it was more of like a prototype, so the creators don't really consider it like and actually part of the series. And then they created Detective Grimoire Secret of the Swamp. That's the first one I played. I don't remember if it was last year or early this year. I genuinely can't remember, but I really enjoyed it. I was just looking for something to play because I just started getting into video games, and super cute game. And then they had Tangled Tower, which came out in 2019. The Secret of the Swamp came out in 2014. And then they just released the Mermaid Mask just this past month, I believe, like within this last 30 days. Um, and they're all so fun. They are so fun. I hope they keep creating them. They've been working on this series, like I said, since 2007, so a long time. They put lot of love into the characters and the storyline, into the mystery, into the art. Like it's done by uh S SFB Games, and it's just a really cute point and click mystery, and the mysteries are really good. For the Mermaid Mask, it's about um uh one second. It's basically a who done it. I'm just reading kind of like the description of it. Mystery where you investigate the murder of a Captain Mortega on the submarine Mortega. And so basically they don't really do much of a background. They just get it, like, you just find out they get a notice to come to the submarine, and if the intro's kind of like wacky or whatever, you're like, what? And then like you go to the submarine and you meet all these characters and you solve this mystery and of this murdered captain of the Mortega, and the characters are just all from different worlds. Some of them are into like research of mythological things, and some people are into art, and some people are like part of a movie that was written in the book, and it's just really good. Highly recommend. I will say I did figure out who did it, but not necessarily by the clues. I got it more by the just the way that the other characters were describing the person, right? Like when you get the case description and like their background and like things like that. And then that kind of like led me to like saying like, see, the clues match up or whatever. So like they do it really well where it's not super obvious based on the clues who did it, right? I just kind of like look at, I'm like more of like a personal, like getting behaviors and like how people like see that person, and then kind of go from there sometimes, not all the time, but that's how like I kind of like look at things sometimes in a different perspective. And so I did figure out who did it, but there was another person I thought that might have done it, but then I thought it was like a little too cliche, I guess. So it was really good. It was really good, and it made me sad who the person was because I liked the character. So like I liked all the characters. So it's like, you know, the story is really good when you're like, no, I like the character. I don't want them to be that person. Like, you know what I mean? And then like at the end of it, you like care what happens to the rest of the characters. It's just cute. It's fun. Like I said, the mysteries are really good. Sometimes the you do these little like puzzles in order to continue on in the game or get more clues and things like that. Once in a while, the instructions to the puzzles were a little confusing. I think there was like two of those where I was just like, I don't really know what I'm supposed to do. Um, so that was the only thing that I had a little bit of like, okay, am I just dumb here? And so I would go on YouTube and watch other people figure it out. Sometimes there were some other people like, I don't know what they want from me, so I felt not so alone. But like I said, like it was easy once you figured out what to do. You're like, oh, okay, and then it was like challenging enough to like be a teaser, as well as not so hard where you can't figure it out. Because I have some of those puzzle games where I'm just like, I'm just looking this up and putting it in because I don't know what the hell this is. So I are dumb. I don't care. So no shame in my game. So I'm also for in video games for the storyline too. So really great. I hope they keep doing the series because I just love the little characters, and Sally and Detective Grimoire are like the main detectives, and it's just cute. Highly recommend. Then I played The Incident at Galley House. Now that was a game. It was another point and click game. It came out in 2026, so recently, and it's basically where you use a special machine to view fragmented memories of a grisly event that occurred in the Galley House in 1936, piecing together the truth behind the death. Um, and it's by Evil Trout. I have I okay. Overall, I really like the game. Overall, I love the storyline. I love the art. I loved most of the dialogue. Um it Here's the thing. With this game, there's not any like puzzles that you do. It's more about figuring out where a bunch of characters in a very confusing timeline, because they're all kind of like ghosts, and I don't want to give too much spoilers. It's the premise is very smart, okay, but like you're trying to figure out, you use this machine and you put in who was in at a certain time, and then uh where they were, like almost like Clue, like, and then what, you know what I mean? So there's certain things you have to like figure out, like who was there, the timeline of which they were there, and uh and where they were at, right? And so it's almost like the the game Clue, right? And so, and then you have to like figure, and you get these clues based off like, okay, you see one scene, and then you can find out clues from that scene to go back to like the first scene and add another of where other people were. So the concept is very clever. I'm probably not explaining it right, but the concept is very clever. And when I first started, I was like, hell yeah, I was so into it. And I was just really, really into it. But kind of halfway through, it's kind of a long game. It's like if you play with no glitches, it's probably like 6 or 7 hours. For me, it was longer because I had glitches. I'm trying to figure these things out. It, it's really good concept. I feel like they overdid it, and I wish they either broke it up with a little bit more puzzles in between there. I wish the storyline had a little bit, like the ending kind of like made me underwhelmed, because I don't know. I think I would have liked it better if there was actually like one bad guy and there wasn't. Uh and it wasn't supposed to be that way. I don't think that's what they meant with their storyline. But I kind of wish, I felt like if that storyline was like that, where there was just like one person that did something or murdered someone or like caused the murders, I would be more like invested in it. You couldn't really the I don't know. It was so beautifully done. This is the thing. It was so beautifully done. Like I said, the artwork was great thing, but after a while, like there were still, after I finished the game playing like 10 hours, like there were still like 10 scenes I could have gone through, 10 plus scenes I could have gone through. That's how many scenes there were. Okay. Keep that in mind. And eventually I was just like, I don't care who's in the room at 3 o'clock, at the 2, at the 1. I just don't care who did it. Like, you know what I mean? That's kind of where I was at. Right. And I was like, I'm not going to spend 10 hours trying to put in this code. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it got a little redundant, is what I'm trying to say. And I wish the characters had a bit more of a personality, because they all kind of had the same personality. They're all very uppity, is the right word, which is fine. And they were still like, they had a little bit different personalities and stuff, but they all kind of had like that uppity, 1930s, like da 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 da. And even when they go into the future with the people like solving the crime in the future, they were still kind of all uppity because they were all researchers. So most of them were kind of full of themselves. Like it just, not saying that all researchers are full of themselves, but a lot of them are like, I know what I'm doing. No, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. Like very like thing. Obviously, I'm not saying all researchers, if you're in the research field, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying they're all very smart people. So they're all like thinking they have the best opinions, right? And so it's just I wish there was a little bit more, I don't know, a little bit more uh different types of characters, right? Like they just all seemed kind of the same. Like they were all very like, how dare you offend my great great grandpapa, and like you defend, like this is my house. Like it was all kind of the same, right? And I wish they broke it up with a little bit more character development with different people. But again, I think it was a great story. I think it's worth playing. Now, it has a lot of great reviews. This is just one person. That's the reason I got it. It has so many great reviews. The storyline's still cool. If you like point and click games, definitely recommend still getting it. I am just saying, you are not alone if like halfway through you're kind of like, just tell me what room this is, because I'm tired of going through my notes, right? So keep that in mind. But if you like those type of things, some people live for that stuff. I just don't have the patience for it. So, but other than that, great artwork. The 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 voice acting was superb. I will say that. The Like I said, drawings were great. The idea overall was excellent. I just wish there was like I wish like halfway through the game they kind of like changed it up to not just putting in a bunch of code, right, and trying to figure that out from there. That's just my opinion. Okay, and then I watched A Private Life, and that movie, if you're unaware, is a French film starring Jodie Foster, and it's a psychological thriller. It was directed by Rebecca Solowski, um, and basically, she is a psychiatrist living in Paris who investigates the suspicious death of one of her patients, and she believes that it's a murder instead of a um, unaliving herself incident. And just to let you know, my boyfriend had the bright idea of ordering Cinemark popcorn and some candy from the theater. I've always seen it on delivering apps. I never thought I would do it. I mean, I use delivering apps like it's my job, but like Buddy's here by the way. He finished his Kong and went on a little walkie. Refused to go past the end of the street, but you know, we're it's the, I guess this time of year he just doesn't want to. Um, So if you hear him, excuse him. He just had a Kongi, so I can't give him another one. But yeah, I have popcorn from the movie theater, and so after I film this, we're probably going to eat that popcorn and watch something. I don't know. But anyway, continuing on. So excuse that interruptions. So hey, boo boo. So the movie was so good. So good. And I have problems paying attention to normal movies. So when movies have like subtitles that you have to like read off the script, right? And like no dubs or anything like that. Like and Kermit's like, let's watch it. And I'm like, he's like, just put your phone down. Like, and he's like, you can't touch your phone, and like puts it away. I think I touched it like twice or something throughout it, which is good for me. But you know, he was like, put your phone down and you know, just watch it and let's just see if we like. If we don't like it, we just turn it off, right? And find something else to do. And I'm like, fine. And so I'm really glad we watched it. It was funny, it was action packed, it was artsy, but not too over the top artsy. You know, like sometimes foreign films can be a little over the top where it's like, okay, bro, you're doing a little too much. I didn't get that. I read some comments on reviews for it where people were saying it was just a typical foreign artsy film. No, I didn't get that vibe at all because it had a lot of action woven into it and it had a lot of comedy woven into it, right? Not like slapstick comedy, but like subtle funny comedy, and especially from her ex-husband. um the main character's ex-husband is hilarious. He's a big part in the movie, and he just has a lot of like good one liners as well as like just he's a riot in the film. Like he's really funny. He's not over the top with it, but he's funny. My type of sense of humor. There's this one scene that Kermit and I laugh because they start becoming romantically involved again, and they're you know in the elevator and enjoying themselves, and this person keeps calling her, right? It's part of the storyline. Keeps calling her, and she's like kind of freaked out about it. And he like grabs the phone. And he's like, I'm having sex with my ex-wife. So if you do not mind, I mean, he said it a lot more like French, right? Like more thing that made it more funnier. But it was he was just really good. The ending was really obvious, but at the same time, I didn't figure it out. So it was like obvious, but if you don't overthink it, right? And they give you enough thoughts of where everything's going, enough to where you overpass the simple thing, right? And so it was good. It was, like I said, I don't think it was over the top artsy. There was some artsy scene, but I enjoyed it. Like I enjoyed it, and it wasn't, like I said, thrown in your face 24/7. Um, the acting was superb. The dialogue was great. Even with the subtitles, like the characters, I pretty much liked all the characters. I didn't really hate any of the characters, to be honest. There was one that was the woman that passed away's daughter. She kind of made me a little weirded out, but I think she was supposed to. You know, and it was just good. It was really good. Well done. The ending, she, I don't know. I don't want to give too much. This is one of those psychological films that you don't want to give too much away, but highly, 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 highly recommend it. Um, I'll probably watch it again. Really, really liked it. Really enjoyed it. No notes. And yeah, it's on Netflix if you're interested. Okay, I also watched the Five Nights at Freddy's, the first one and the second one. I don't know much about that franchise, like, at all. I just saw that the second one was on Netflix. It was a recommendation for me. So I was like, let me watch the first one first. So I found that on a different app. Um, and I tried to play the video game, but that's when I first started getting into video games, and I just didn't know really how to play video games yet. And I just was very confused. And I think I played like 20 minutes of it and ended up not playing it. So I might try it again. The concept kind of confused me. Plus I wasn't wearing hearing things, which I think you really need for that game. Like, I wasn't wearing headphones or whatever. So I might come back to it and try it. I liked the movies though. Like, they were fun. Like, for what they were fun. I liked, surprisingly, the second one better a little bit, because I feel like there was a little bit more action and things more going on. I love the marionette one, the marionette, I guess, character, if you want to call it that. Um, it brought more of a spook factor in comparison to the first one. The first one wasn't scary at all. The second one, again, it wasn't super scary, but there was a couple where I'm like, oh, that's creepy, like that type of feeling. It was fun, and I can imagine seeing it in theaters. It would have been a lot more fun, especially as being a teenager or preteen. I think that would have been a lot of fun. Um, but he's having some popcorn. If you can hear him, he's so cute. I love Bobby. But yeah, they're cute things. They're probably aimed for, like, from preteens to about, early 20s, like, or late teens type vibe. But I still liked it. Like, Kermie's older than me, and he liked them. He thought they were fun. But they, I don't know if I'd call them a classic. Like, when I think classic, I think like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I think even Scream. I like the Scream franchises a lot, especially the early ones. I think Freddy Krueger. Like, I think all like that. The general things. I don't know if I would put Five Nights at Freddy's up there, but it could just be, I'm just not for the audience, right? Like, it's just, I don't know, just was, but I still really liked Obsession, and I feel like the Obsession's target was like, late teens as well too, and I liked Obsession, so, you know, like I said, I just think it was good. It was good. I maybe watch it again in a few years, if, like, during Halloween binge or something like that. I liked all the actors in it. I thought the little girl did a really good job. I thought all the actors did a good job. Matthew Lillard was in it, and I have a special place in my heart for him, just because I think he did such a remarkable job in Scream, and he did a really good job in this one too as well. Um, the acting was good. The acting was really good. I feel like the dialogue could have been a little bit, like, they could have given them a little bit more, like, make it a little deeper. But again, the rating of it wasn't like R or anything like that. So you got to tailor it to, you can't go out there cussing at the kids, right? You know what I mean? Like, ah, you know what I mean? Like, so I get it. I think for what they were targeting and what they had based on the lore of the video game and based on the concept of it, I did wish that they kind of did more of, because in the second one they kind of did it, but I wish they did more of the scene of, maybe they thought it'd be too scary, of like someone just sitting in the control room and then the creatures just popping out, like, in the dark. Like, that would be scary, bro. Like, I kind of wish they did that a little bit more. Like, I feel like that would have been, like, really good. Maybe they're planning to do that on the third one, because I know they're making a third one. But that was what I was kind of like waiting for, because you can imagine, like, being in a dark theater and then all of a sudden, like, the guy's like in pitch black and then the little creature, like, that would be creepy as fuck. I don't know why they didn't do that more. Sorry, but he's like, agree. Every time I raise my voice, bro. But he's like, what's going on? What's up? What's up? What's up, girly pup? Sorry, he's like my makeshift therapy dog. He's like, it's okay. I'm just talking about a video game, buddy. It's okay. So yeah, what did you think, buddy?
I think that movie was very scary.
Oh, okay.
I got scared the whole time, so I hid.
Okay. Um, he's like, I want to watch Blue's Clues. Okay. Um, but yeah. So hang on a second. My boyfriend, I was laughing because my boyfriend heard me say that and he kind of just like shook his head, and then we like talked for a minute because he's like, my son likes the classics because I was talking about how he was scared of the movie. We take our animals very seriously with their personalities, but he was like, my son, because Kermit loves like old school scary movies and like Nightmare on Elm Street and all those Texas Chainsaw, like all those like classic things. And he was just like, since that's his son, he was like, my son's no wimp. And I'm like, no, he's my baby boy. So yeah, we're being stupid. Okay. Anyway, continuing on. Anyway, I recommend it if you're looking for something fun to watch. Um, I do think they could have amped up the dialogue a little bit. I wish they had more of amped up the dialogue a little bit, and again I include that scene of like in the control room with the animals creeping up on them, and do that like a longer, like I feel like they could do like a 10-15 minute thing on that. Like I think that could be done really well, but maybe that would be, I don't know what's considered, I think it's PG-13, so I don't know what would be considered too scary for that. I don't know. But I'm obviously preteens play this game, so all right, let's move on. The last thing I want to talk about is we watched just last night. Sorry, there's a lot of stuff to catch you up on, but like I said, I've been trying to film this podcast for a while. So, last movie I want to talk about, and then I'm going to skip the book because we're only 30 pages in. So, I'll get to that into the next Haunted Journal, and then we'll move on from this stuff and getting to the other stuff. Okay, and then I watched the one I love, which is a surrealist comedy thriller, which I think is also a psychological thriller, a little bit at least, about a troubled couple, Ethan and Sophie, who go on a weekend getaway to a secluded house, and a therapist told them to do this, or a psychiatrist, um, to save their marriage. And then once they get there, it's really well done how they like introduce it, but once they get there, they basically, when they go to a certain part of the house, I forget which, I'm directionally challenged, so I don't really know what part of the house or whatever, but certain part of that house, if they go alone, they'll see what they think is their husband. So say they're in the pool house, right? And they're having sexy time, right? And she says, hey, I'm going to go into the main house and grab something and I'll be back, right? And so she walks to the main house. She's having a good time. And then she sees her husband and she's like, how'd you get here? And he's like, I've been here. Like you were just going upstairs or something like that. And she's like, okay. And then they kind of like have a little bit of fight about it because it's like, you were just right here. And then the same thing happens to him, only with her, right? Like he goes like one room and he's like, I was just there. Like, you know what I mean? Like it was very confusing. And so they start realizing that there's a couple that's like trapped in a certain part of the house that looks exactly like them, right? And so they first get really weirded out and they do the smart thing and exit out of there, right? And there's comedy mixed in, and like there's a lot of good kind of dark but not so dark comedy. It's funny to watch, right? But it's also like kind of like it's like a psychological thing too because it's a mind f. So they're like, maybe we did too much weed because they brought some weed, and like, I don't know if I'm gonna say weed on YouTube. I'm learning. They brought some, what's the word, flowers, I don't know, plants. And so they were like thinking like maybe this, was something was wrong with that. Like they're trying to figure it out, but they were like, we're out of here, right? And then the wife is sitting there and she's like, well, weren't you like intrigued? Like they're eating dinner about, or breakfast about to leave. She's like, but weren't you intrigued at all? Like, we wanted to do more fun things as a couple. And he's like, what? And she's like, well, like, do you want to go investigate more and like kind of see? I don't think it's bad. And he's like very hesitant, but eventually he's like, okay, which dumb as F. Kermit and I were laughing because I was like, he's like, he was really cute. He goes, if that ever happens, he's like, you murder him or you do whatever you need to do. You bash him head if it's not really me. We've confirmed it's not really me. And he's like, with you, I couldn't hurt you because it looks like you. So I would just like lock you in the closet with food. And we would be out of there. And I'm like, oh, okay. He's like, I could have worked something that looks like you. And I was like, good answer. But me, I would be kung fuing the fake Kermie up. He knows I have karate skills. He's witnessed them and felt them. I'd be like, pow, pow, and he'd be done. Like, we would be out of there. And like, no doubt. And like, we would actually, like, if we were having issues, we would actually come better to knowing our personalities. We would become very close, the closest we've ever been as a couple, just because of our personalities. If we saw people trying to impersonate us, because we're already a little crazy. So I don't know. We just thought it was so funny. We were laughing so hard. Kirby's like, "You have permission," and he's like, "And I'll just lock you in a closet with food." I'm like, "Okay," and then we're running out of here. But their dumbasses go back, right, and they go investigate it. Long story short, the girl starts kind of falling in love with the fake Ethan, right? And that pisses the real Ethan off because he's like, "That's not me, bro. Like, you're falling in love with a fake one." Like, and I don't really want to. The way they have it, the reason behind these fake people is basically, spoiler alert. I'm gonna spoil it. I'm sorry, it came out in 2014. I'm gonna spoil it. Um, it was a therapist. He had some weird experiment thing going on where each couple has to, like, in order to leave, they basically has to break up the couple, because once they don't really love each other anymore, then the other couple can leave because they're trapped in that house. Once they do that, they can leave. And so this couple was trying to break them up even more. And so then they could leave. But then the fake Ethan fell in love with the real Sophie, and the real Sophie fell in love with the Ethan. So it kind of messed things up. And the overall, the movie's very good. It's very good. I don't want to give too much away, but the very twist at the end, I kind of wish they stopped doing this in these type of movies where they're like, "Are you the real blah blah blah?" Like when there's a doppelganger or something, like a doppelganger. Doppelganger. You know what I'm talking about? The person that like looks like you. I hate when they have that, and then like at the end they're like, "Is that really my person?" Like, they think everything's over, and then they do like one subtle clue where it's like, "That's the fake blah blah blah." They kind of did that at the end, which is, you knew it was gonna happen. And I kind of wish they didn't with this film, because it's so cliche and it happens every time when you have a doppelganger. Every freaking time. And I wish they'd come up with another twist with those type of movies, right? Like, I really do, because other than that, the movie was fantastic. No notes. I wouldn't change a thing. I just wish that very end they didn't either include it or they had something else that's a twist, because they always do that where they're like, we're in this one case, it's obvious that they got, I'm not gonna say which one it was, but they got it's the wrong one, right? And at the end, so like I said, spoilers, one of the peoples that escape isn't actually the original person, right? And so, and at the end it's kind of like obvious it's not, but the other person just doesn't care. It's Sophie. I'm just gonna spoil it. Sophie's the one that like stays there, and it's kind of sad, but like, I also don't really feel bad for her if you watch the movie, because I'm just like, that's your guy, and you kind of like, I don't know. You have to watch it, but at the end, he's almost like he just doesn't care. He like finds out, and then he's just like, all right, well, she didn't really love me anyway. Like, I don't know, but I still suggest watching it. I know I didn't explain it very well because I get attached to these things, and I'm like, but just, we don't always have to have that cliche ending. Like, they always do that with those movies where it's like, is it the real one? And then it's no, there's like one subtle clue, and they always do it. And I get like, that's kind of like the thing, but they've been doing it for a while now. So I don't know. That's just my rant for the day. Okay. So there's some updates I want to do as far as Supernatural goes. And we're going to switch into Supernatural, and then we'll touch on David's case. But let me kind of just throw out some stuff that's been happening, because like I said in the beginning of this podcast, like, it's been hard to kind of collect my thoughts on everything, because it just feels like everything is just all everything. When I'm talking about supernatural related, right? Paranormal activity and things like that. It just doesn't feel like there's a rhyme or a reason. And I feel like feelings with the supernatural is something you have to use as your sixth sense, right? Like, as far as your emotions go, because when you see cases, they always say separate your emotions from the facts, right? I've been watching the Lindsay Clancy case, which I'm not touching that on the 10-foot pole. That will not be discussed on my podcast at all. I think it's very sad, and I I don't think I have any say of. I am not someone high enough or informed enough to talk about that case. It's just sad no matter how you look at it. Uh so I don't if anyone that happens to come to this podcast and you're happening to wonder my opinion on that, I do have opinions on it, but sometimes your opinion doesn't always need to be shared, especially during a very sensitive time like this. And anyone involved, including Lindsay, including her family, including anyone that was involved, the police, the investigators, the forensics, the lawyers. I just hope everyone's taking care of themselves, because that I don't want no part of it, and I'm privileged not to be part of it, so I'm not going to be. But I am following it just because I'm intrigued in some way. So once in a while, I'll have it on the background, not all the time, because they seem to be taking a lot of breaks in this case on a lot of things. It feels a weird way. That's like they're dragging it out for some reason. I don't know if they're like waiting for something. I don't know, but so it's kind of hard to watch because they're like, we're gonna have a 2-hour lunch. We're gonna have it's like, all right, but again, this is a very sensitive case. So at the same time, take all the time you need, right? So, um, uh, but they said something at the very beginning. The judge said something where you have to like, because it's a very emotional case. If you know what it is, I'm not going to go into it, but it's a very emotional case. It's like you have to like, and some of the evidence is very emotional. Like no one can listen to that with half a heart and not get emotionally involved. So he had to like, for this specific case, he had to like remind the jury, I think several times actually, that you have to separate your feelings from it and look at the facts of the case. And I do agree with that for most like normal cases. But I think as humans, we forget that empathy and behaviorism. Sorry, my dogs are saying something. All right, my children are childering today. I.e., my pets. I don't have any human children. Thank goodness for them. So, I think as humans, I still think it's important to look at those emotions to some extent, right? Because with feelings, it's not something to discard, right? It's like it's one of those things where when you have a bad feeling about either a situation or an environment or a person, and you're removing yourself, whether you're right or wrong, has saved a lot of people, right? And that's not something you can ignore. And I know a lot of people are like, don't judge a book by its cover, and don't always judge people just because you're uncomfortable. And again, I agree, but I also feel like uncomfortableness is almost for humans a mechanism to feel, say, like either I'm not equipped for this situation, or and if it's not something that's glaringly like making you uncomfortable where you can pinpoint it really quickly, right? Like the weather or something like that, right? Where it's like something's off, that's our sixth sense, right? Like that's our superpower, right? That we need to hone in more, right? And again, I'm not saying to be as a detective and go and be like, that Mikey boy sure gives me the heebie jeebies. Arrest that man. Like, I'm not saying that, but I am saying to like lean into that a little bit and then see if things match up there. If it doesn't, then move away from it and maybe come back to it later, or talk to more people, or look at other suspects. Like, keep an open mind, right? But I also think feelings about something that happened is important, right? And it's also the impact of the case, right? And in order to see the case as a whole, you sometimes have to feel what the case caused on some level to the victims, right? Because you can't forget about the victims, right? And what they were feeling. And sometimes that makes you even want to go harder to figure out the case, right? And I think with the supernatural, it's probably tenfold, right? Because a lot of times when we get scared at something, right, in the supernatural, that's usually the paranormal, the supernatural trying to get your attention, right, in some way. Well, they rely on that sense, right, in order to, again, get your attention, right? Dark creaks in the night, bumps in the night, which I'm about to get into, a buddy acting weird on his walks, strange movement of things. Like, that's how they get your attention, where you're like, I know something's off, but it's hard to prove it. but that emotion is there, and that feeling is there, right? And so I think, as adults, it's very easy to, swipe off those fears and say, oh, we're just being stupid, let's get back to paying bills, Martha. You know what I mean? But I feel like if you really lean into it, then the supernatural invites you more into things, right? In my case, though, it feels like everything is just all over the place, bro. Like all over the place. And I say that though because I got not frustrated, but I guess confused is the right word. Where, long story short, Buddy, my dog, who we got about almost a year ago now, we got him on August 15th. Um, I he's when I got him, it was like within the first month, I've noticed weird paranormal stuff. And prior to that, there was paranormal stuff happening to me. But when Buddy came, it was like he sensed it because is probably a way bigger empath than me and just senses emotions, even my emotions, Kermie's emotions, and my dad's emotions, like HG's emotions. Like he's like so hyper aware of his surroundings. It's crazy. I can go on for hours about that, but I won't. He's just, when he'll see men like literally a half a mile away, like, you know what I mean, like pretty far away. Like I can still see them, but like and he will see them before me and stop and like turn around sometimes. And I don't think anything's wrong with the men. He's just like, it's like he's like a dog that just been pre-programmed and like tossed in me and Kermie's lap. I don't know how to explain it. It's like he's trained in the supernatural and just being very aware of his surroundings. And I have so many stories about that. But like one story, we were walking at night and he was doing good. He wasn't scared of anything like supernatural or anything like that. He was raring to go. We were walking down. It was kind of late. It was like 10ish, 11. But I just knew he had to go. He was restless. It was really hot that day, so he didn't get much outside activity. So like, let's do a little, get your legs moving a little bit before Betty, right? And we went. Kermie was with me, and then he just stopped. And then he saw my neighbors had, either someone was delivering something in a big truck, or it was like a big van. That's what it was. And I don't know if it was my neighbors or they were getting something delivered. And Buddy stopped. And then he like looked at them for like 30-ish seconds, maybe a little bit more. And then me and Kermit were like, during that time, kind of like, come on, Buddy, let's keep going. We got to get your exercise in so you're not up all night, right? And he just stopped and was like, mm-mm. And he listens to Kermit, and he didn't listen to either of us. And he just turned back. Again, my neighbors have always been pleasant to me. I have no issues with my neighbors. I don't know if he sensed something in the car. I don't know if he sensed something with those guys dropping something off. I don't know if it's just men because we don't know what his background is. He is more cautious around men. Like when he sees men, he'll do that little, like when we're just walking during the day, and if they do want to pet Buddy, which I don't usually do, like not a lot of people ask me to pet Buddy, but it's just like Buddy's my dog, and I don't know. So, like, but there's been times when, like if someone was doing something in your house, like, oh, can I pet your dog? Is he friendly or something like that? Buddy will do the crouch thing and then see if he's friendly. But he will also do this thing where, and I just want to give you a background of how sensitive he is. He'll do these things where the same guys that he like crouched down and then like almost like melted in their arms, right, to see if they're friendly. The same guys, Buddy was in my room, my door was shut. They were working to put a fence in our yard. And Buddy all of a sudden got up and just bark, 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 bark. Not like growling, but bark, 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 bark. And then like wanted out. And then I was like, what's going on? I opened the door and Buddy went straight to the back door. Okay. Like my door was shut and he went straight to the back and just went, and like it was the guys, and they were like not next to the door. They were like at the edge of the deck, right? So there was like my back door, and then we have this big deck, and they were more closer to the steps to get down. Buddy sensed them from in my room. Like that's how sensitive this dog is to like people in his space. Like I'm not lying. I'm not pretending. And he's very protective of his home to like a proper extent. And you know what I mean? Like he's very self-aware of surroundings, right? But he's also right, he's just self-aware, like, you know what I mean? And then I was like, what are y'all doing? Like, and then we talked, and then like we finished, like, because they were done, and I guess maybe they were talking about something, I don't know. But I swear, Buddy, my room was shut and he sensed them all the way. That's how good he is at his senses, bro. Like, and so I feel like he does that on a spiritual level, like supernatural wise, and just everyday life, right? And I don't know what his background is. I don't know if he came from a situation where he didn't come from a good situation. And I'm not going to repeat it because I don't like living in the past when it comes to my dog, because I call it superstition, whatever. I like to move forward with my baby because that's what he deserves. I don't like bringing up bad stuff for him. I'm weird with that. But like, he didn't come from a good thing. It's quite obvious, right? Um but sorry, now I'm getting emotional because I love him so much. I love all my pets, my kitties, and my, I just, animals are so good. They're so good. They're so smart. But it was funny because most recently, and I put this on my Instagram, Kermie was out. No one was home. Usually I'm not home alone at night. And Kermie was out working. He's been working on stuff. And so I was like kind of laying down, and I don't remember what I was doing. I think I was either watching something on YouTube. No, I was watching something on YouTube on my TV, and maybe simultaneously playing a video game. I don't know, or playing on my phone or something, right? And it was kind of late. I actually put it on my Instagram, so let me figure out the exact time. One moment. Okay, it was like 9:40 p.m. when this happened. And so I was just laying in bed, and all of a sudden I felt, and Kitty was on the side of me, and Buddy was at the end of my bed, and he was asleep, okay? And um and all of a sudden I felt this thud, like a bang on the back of my bed. Well, my back of my bed is to the wall, okay? And my bedroom's small, so it's like Kermie and I have like a lot of furniture in here, so it's like there's not a lot of moving space, right? And so it's literally just like this, and this bed is heavy. And my first thought was like, was it Kitty moving around? And then Kitty sleeps sometimes with me and Kermie, and then we also have the side little bed for her where she sleeps sometimes too, just depending what she wants to do, right? But she has like extra space or whatever. So she's like two trees, a really tall tree and her little tree that's like level to the bed where she can go and have her chill time if she wants to. And so she was in that. And Buddy again was snoring, so that then we knew what Buddy was doing. Um and but I was like sometimes he kicks in his sleep, right? I'm like, maybe he like kicked the bed. And Kermie's like, and I talked to Kermie later, and he was like, no, that's like, like that would be because like the way it literally was like from behind the bed pushing it. And again, this bed is like oak. It's really, really old. Like it's an old bed, and it's made of oak. Okay. And I was like, what was that? Like it was weird. I was like, and it actually scared me. And like I said, I've seen a lot of paranormal things. I've seen orbs. I've seen, you can go look at my channel. I'm going to post recaps. I will this time pin it, or I will put it in the description, um, of just a recap, because I can't recap everything of my last year or whatever of paranormal, but it's been a lot, right? It's all been like subtle stuff, but a lot, and enough where it's like actually something happening, and not just in my mind, but not enough to maybe like, wow, like scream out of my face, right? But it's been like a constant thing. And then it happened again today. But it was like in the middle of the day. And again, it was just like a shove at the back of my bed. And I'm like, and again, my bed, my bedroom is literally at the end of the house. So there's not like another bedroom back there. So like there's not like someone that like, oh, like someone can, like, even though there was no one else in the house to do it, there wasn't like another wall there, right? That one didn't scare me as much as the one the night before, because again, it was nighttime and I was alone, and you start thinking things. But my first thought was like, I was like, oh my God, I need to check underneath my bed. Like I was getting like chills, right? Because I'm like, like what if like when I like went to take Buddy out, or like let my dad's dog out, like or something like that, like someone creeped in, like you start, especially if you're a girl, you start thinking those things, right? You watch a lot of true crime, like, oh my God, someone snuck in and they ran underneath my bed and they're waiting to kill me. Like, you know what I mean? But then, like, quickly, I was like, oh my God, I have Buddy. And I know Buddy would wake up. Like I told you, he was like half asleep when those men were in those yards. Like, if Buddy saw someone under my bed, it would be done. So he would be found at the very least, right? And so that actually made me very thankful for my baby boy, because I was like, I don't have to check nothing because it's supernatural. I don't want to see it. And I was just like, and if it's real, Buddy would have already found it, so we're good. I'm just gonna stay up here and text Courtney. So I covered my bases. But when you're freaking out like that, you don't in scary movies, you're like, why don't you just do this and this? Sometimes it takes a minute to like process it, be like, okay, Carol, if someone really came under your bed, Buddy would have been like, ka like, you know what I mean? Like, he'd be like, what are you doing in my house? Like, I swear, he thinks this is a kingdom and we just live in it. And he's just like, my house. And he patrols it every night. It's very cute. And that brings me to, I was looking something up to figure out something on a timeline level, right? So I started scrolling back in my old haunted journals, and I started going back like like it was, I think it was like September. It was like literally like a month after I got Buddy. And in the video, I'm discussing the fact that, it was like my first like intro of like Buddy, right? Because we had him for a month, but I didn't know his situation yet. If we were, what was gonna, if you know what I mean? I didn't know because we just found him on the street, right? So we were trying to figure this out. And this is like the time where we're like, no, this is our dog, right? And so I was a little bit more comfortable talking about him, right? And so one of the first stories I explained was Buddy, and I don't know if I'll pin this, but I'll pin again like the plethora of everything that Buddy's been experiencing since then. Because I did do a video on that, just like a summation, if you happen to find this video. But in this, to give you a brief recap of the story, and I'm so glad I'm documenting this, if it's only for my sake, and I'm like the only one that listens to it, because I forgot about this. This was when Kitty and Buddy were getting used to each other, so I was just making sure everyone was good. So I'm like, you know what I mean? Kitty had her space because Kitty came first in my eyes, because she's my OG, right? And so I just wanted to make sure everything was good with her. Well, I knew she went into the restroom, and then I went into like the living room area, and then Buddy went into my room. And back then, I didn't want Buddy in my room alone with Kitty because, again, I was respecting Kitty's space then. You know what I mean? And this big new dog came in, and she I think she lived with a dog once, and it wasn't long. You know what I mean? So I was just like trying to make sure she was comfortable with it first. And now he sleeps in the room with her, right? And so but back then, you understand, introducing a new animal could take some time. And so Kitty was in her restroom, which it's in my bathroom, and it's kind of like a double bathroom. So it was kind of like there's a hall, and then you turn left and there's like another part of the bathroom, and that's where her potty is. And so I knew Kitty was in there, and then all of a sudden I turn around and Buddy, I guess, nudged the door open and was like looking at something under the bed. And my first thought was like, oh my gosh, Kitty freaked out. I didn't hear her cry or anything like that, but she freaked out. Now she's under the bed and Buddy's trying to get her, right? And I was like, okay, like, let me go in there because I'm, like, leave, Buddy, again, I was just scared that he was like being like curious about her and thing, right? And so I get in there and I'm like, what's going on? And Buddy was just like, not trying to, like, he wasn't hyper, he wasn't barking, he was very cautiously, like he does now, which again I've explained in many videos, but he does this cautious walk sometimes where he's trying to figure something out, and then sometimes he'll run away or he'll cautiously go back, right? And he does that all the time on his walks, or in the backyard, constantly, right? Where he just will not go anywhere, or he'll cautiously move forward or cautiously move back, right? And it's like he sees something, and he's been doing that a lot. Well, that was like the first time, but he did it under the bed, where he was cautiously low and looking under the bed. And I was like, okay, I couldn't see Kitty under the bed, so I went into the bathroom, saw that she was fine, and she was just looking at me like, the F? Like, I'm just doing my business, woman. Like, you know what I mean? And so I was like, okay. And so that made me feel good. But then I looked under the bed. I'm like, what are you looking for, Buddy? Because I'm not going to lie, I eat in my bed sometimes. I eat in my bed a lot. Kermit's learned to adapt, but he does it too. So it's all good. So, so I was like, maybe like I dropped a chicken nugget or something. I don't know. And so, but there wasn't anything there. There wasn't any of his toys. There wasn't anything. Like, there was probably maybe like clothes, because again, I'm not the cleanest person. I admit it. I'm being real. Like, it was like there's clothes and stuff down there, but it was like he was moving like he saw something that he was curious about, right? It wasn't just a balled up shirt where he'd be like, huh, what are you? Like, and so again, like just processing of like what he was looking at. And so that was like the first like instant of Buddy doing that. And I've also told you this story many times, and I'm sorry for people that have heard the story, but of pressing before we got Buddy, like a few months before, me and Kermie would once in a while feel pressing in our bed that we thought was Kitty going to the restroom or going to get something to eat, and Kitty would be asleep, and we'd feel pressing in our bed. So I'm like, there has to be. So this all kind of started like in my bed, right? But then when Buddy came in, it moved again, and I'll link that video. I'm not going to go all over it again, but a lot of activity in the living room and a lot of activity in the backyard, which made me to believe that it has to do, because Buddy won't even go to the backyard today. Like, I tried to drag him out there today to go potty, would not go, would not budge, would not. I had dragged him, and then I got him to the backyard, and he ran right back up the stairs. Some days he's fine with the backyard. Today was not one of those days. He's like, he gets scared and he sees something in there. And then sometimes he sees something in the living room, and I've documented that to my Facebook Blue. I will link that video. But yeah, so I definitely feel like whatever is happening in the living room and the backyard are connected. What's ever happening in my bedroom and on his walks, I think might be separated. Now, before I forget, I have this raccoon stuff. I'm grown. I know I still like stuffed toys. Leave me be. I have a strong inner child because I know the supernatural. I'm kidding, but like, don't make fun of me. So I like stuffed toys still. I like I do. I'm not like, I just, they make me happy. I don't have a whole bunch, but I have a few, and I have a little raccoon stuffy, right? It's a weighty raccoon stuffy because sometimes when Kermie's not here and he's working, because sometimes he has weird hours because of his job, I like to snuggle it once in a while. He's made me a softie, but only Kermie. I like to snuggle it sometimes. And one day I, like, just like the past week or so, I saw it because it was like buried kind of under my pillows, because I have a bunch of pillows on my bed, and it was kind of like buried between the crack of my bed, right? And I picked it up, I was like, oh, like the thing, and I was kind of like, looking at it, and like hugged it a little bit because Kermie was out and stuff like that, and leave me alone. And so I was like, okay. And so I put it like down, right? I just plopped it down. And I didn't put this on my Instagram, but I do have a picture of it. And I'm too tired to edit this video. I'm still probably have like 30 more minutes to go on this. So I will post it on my Instagram story under spooky things. If you're interested, if you stumble across this video, I will save it under spooky things. But I came back, and I know I just like plopped it, right? And then I came back in my room, and then it was like situated on my pillow, where it was like high up on it, like looking at me. And I'll show it, but I know I did not put it that way, right? It was like someone placed it cutely, like almost like at a hotel, like, hey girl, like something like that. Like, it wasn't like folded or whatever, but the way it was placed, I would have remembered doing that, because I would have been like, you stay here. Like, again, immature. I have an immature side of myself, I admit it, but like, I'd be like, like, I don't know. I would remember doing that, right? Like, and it was like the way it was placed, it was not the way I placed it. I just flopped it down because I think I went to go see what Buddy was doing or something. Something distracted me to go out, so I didn't like strategically place it there, right? And so I'll post that picture there. It could have just been me, and I'm an absent-minded person, but I really don't think that is. And I've told you about Buddy's toys being rearranged in weird places. That's happened again since the original story. Not as bad, but I don't know. There's so much that, like, and they're all like subtle but noticeable things, right? Like, that's the best way I can describe it, right? Okay, so that's what's going on there. And then with the I didn't tell this story because, again, everything just sounds so crazy, but this is my truth, okay? I don't know what else to say, but I mentioned a lot of the times that Buddy will start in the past like 2 weeks. Buddy does not go past, maybe it's like a week and a half. I don't know, like, how one's messed up, but it's been a while since Buddy will not go past the end of our road, right? And usually he likes to go by this area where we go down that end of the road, and then we turn, and then he has like this area he likes to explore. He hasn't even wanted to do that in a while. And even, like, again, not in the heat, like, let's forget the weather. I know my dog, like, he likes to go that area, rain, shine, like, that's his like fun activity time. He will stop like midpoint down our street before we turn, right? And he will turn back, and there's no people there. Like I told that previous story where he kind of did the same thing, but he saw those people and he was like raring to go. This time he like either doesn't leave the front porch or he'll stand in the middle of the street and then just turn back, not seeing anything. And he'll slowly walk to the middle of the street, like cautious the whole time, and just won't go past, right? And so I'm like, okay, like I don't know what else to do, but I'm not gonna force my dog to take a walk. My neighbors probably think I'm absolutely insane, but what else is new? So, but one night we were doing the same thing, and I was walking him, and I told this story before where I keep seeing this little black thing hop across and then kind of dissipate, right? And I'm like, in my mind, if it is anything, it has to be a cryptid or something like that. Like, I don't think it's like a ghost, because it's definitely like a creature that hops around, or it's just like a black animal. But when I was walking, and it was so funny because the way it was shaped, because this is the time I saw it up close. Every other time I saw it like kind of like in the back of like in the front of my house. So it was like pretty far away from me. So I only saw like this black thing like move really quickly and like go behind something and just like disappear. That's kind of like the roundabout it. It happened to me twice in the span of like, I don't know, like 6 or 7 months, right? And this time it happened closer to the last time it happened, like only a few weeks. But I was closer to it, and Buddy was smelling this area the night before. So it was like by a neighbor's yard and kind of by a sorry, I'm getting tired, you can tell, but kind of by I guess those sewage drains, like those pipes, I don't know, those big circle things, I don't know where water goes through, I don't know the technical term. But Buddy was very interested in that area and kept smelling it like all week. Like he would stop there, smell it, and then come back. Well, I saw this thing and it was kind of like curved, kind of like that raccoon that's kind of popular online. I don't know if people see, but they saw this raccoon that has like this huge hump. It was kind of like that, but it was all black. I couldn't see a face. And I swear it had like a light on it. And it like hopped. And then I don't know if I didn't see it, if it went down that drain thing, but Buddy starts sniffing in the drain. And I'm like, what the hell was that? Because it was all black, again, had something on the back of its back. And again, I don't know if it was someone put it on there. It wasn't a cat. I don't think it was a raccoon, because I've never seen just a pitch black raccoon. And it was curved like that raccoon. If you Google it, like curved back raccoon, you'll see it. It was like that curved, like its back was like that. And I don't know where it went because it happened so quickly, but Buddy went straight looking back in that little area that I kept. And I put on my Instagram, like, oh, Buddy finds this spot very interesting. That's what happened, bro. And so I don't know if it was like a cryptid or some just weird animal that I don't know, because I am no biologist, I am no zoologist, but it felt like it was. I don't think it was our neighbors' animals, because our neighbors are our neighbors are very animal loving. Like I don't think they would just let this like weird animal on the loose. Like they care about their pets, right? Like, and you know what I'm saying? And it wasn't a cat. I know it wasn't a cat because it was too bushy to be a cat. Like it was too round to be a cat, unless it, no, if it was that round of a cat, it wouldn't be that agile. Like, and it had like this light on it. Like, that is what I saw, bro. I don't know how else to describe it. That is what I saw. So I don't know what it is. I will keep you updated. But that's again where I'm like, okay, I figured out what's haunting the house. Something to do with the lake, and then I'm introduced that cold case, and I was like, that is what I'm going to focus on. That little weird creature has nothing to do with that shit. The stuff that's happening on my bed has nothing to do with that cold case. So I don't know, bro. And again, I know this is all sounds a lot. Keep in mind, all these stories have been a conglomerate of like over a year. Okay, so it just all adds up, right? So I understand it sounds crazy, and I don't think the thing that scares Buddy, that makes him stop walking, is that creature, because Buddy was more interested. He wasn't growling at it. He was more like, "What are you?" Like, you know what I mean? He was more interested than scared. What makes Buddy stop on our walks and like turn around no matter what is something that like scares him, like in the backyard. I think that cryptic thingy or whatever it is, or that creature, I don't think is like bad. I just think it's a creature, right? And Buddy's interested in it, right? He wasn't trying to like chase it. He was just like, what are you? Like, you know what I mean? Like, and he smells interested in it. He's not scared of it, right? And again, it could have just been a weird animal, or maybe someone did have something on their pet, but I don't think a pet would run into a sewer. That's what it is, a sewer drain. I don't think that, and the thing wasn't on like a collar. It was literally like on his back. Okay. Like it was like almost like, I don't know how to describe it. It was like on his back. That's the best way I can describe it. I don't know. And it happened very quickly and it was dark out. So again, I could be wrong, but that's what I'm saying. Like all these like little things keep happening. So I have like my bedroom story with the bed, and then I have the living room and the lake story, and then I have the cryptic story, and then I have Buddy being very scared to either go in the backyard or go on his walks. Like it's all just a jumbled mess. With the cold case story, I really was going to go into a deep dive of it today, but I've been yapping for over an hour now. I think I'm going to leave that for the next time. That was supposed to be like the main thing of this video. I've already started researching it. I already started talking about it on an episode that I tried to film and then I scratched it. I'll come back to it, but to give you an idea of it is this cold case that like I kept thinking about the lake and I was trying to figure out what could be haunting the living room and Buddy, and then I was like, it has to come from the lake. He has to be scared of something from the lake, right? Because we have a lake in our backyard. It's not a swimmable lake. We have a lake. And then it made me look up, haunted areas in our thing, especially lakes. And then there's a place called Spring Lake that came up, and then discussed a cold case that happened in the 1940s called the Moonlight Killers. And it ended up 5 people were murdered in a span of 10 weeks. Eight were injured. Eight victims. Out of that, 5 were murdered and the rest were injured. In a span of 10 weeks, it was like right after World War II. Racial tensions were high. They had a lot of normal crime rate, but not so bad that like this type of crime, right? But racial tensions were high and people were just coming back from the war. So things were kind of like they were trying to rebuild their lives and things like that. And from what I've researched, it was targeted by a bunch of different people. It wasn't just like one specific target. And a guy would be wearing like a hooded mask, like a white mask over his face. So I don't know. I know more about it, but I'm so tired that I think I'm going to leave it here. I really was intending to make this, but I think I wanted to talk about all the updates about the supernatural because it's just been hitting me more and more this past week. And I think that's the reason why I just couldn't film it, because I'm like, well, then this happened, and this happened. So maybe I feel more caught up and then I can just go straight into that cold case. But see how that's connected, because I've said this a million times like a broken record. I always feel like the supernatural gets your attention because obviously the killings didn't happen at my lake, right? Like it didn't. I don't even think my lake was built. It was a man-made lake. I don't think it was built in the 1940s, right? But I think the supernatural tries to get your attention by bringing up topics that'll make you investigate other ideas, right? To kind of get you like, okay, a lake, and then it'll make you Google lake, and then you find out about this cold case that I had no idea about it before all this. You can believe it or not, but that's what I feel like was the reason the supernatural kept trying to get my attention that way. But then as soon as I figured that out, less weird stuff was happening in the living room and more weird stuff was happening in my bed and on Buddy's walks. So it's like, well, now what? So I don't know. I'm new to this, believe it or not. So I'm documenting it, and I'm glad I'm documenting it because I completely forgot about the Buddy bed story, right? Which ties in to everything else. So, or the most recent events. So again, keep in mind all this stuff isn't just happening in like 1 week. It's been a long time. I started my supernatural journey in 2023. It was lulled for a little second, and now it's like confusing the crap out of me. But yeah, anyway, last thing, I'm kind of glad I saved it to the point where I'm exhausted. The David hearing, y'all don't understand. I went like in on this. I was comparing David to a thing. I was really kind of dissecting David, but I do want to keep updated on the David case. I don't know why. It's just something that I have in my heart that I want to keep touching on in this podcast. But the preliminary hearings wrapped up, I guess, 2 weeks ago now. If you're not aware, preliminary hearings are to tell the judge ask the judge to say, hey, we want to bring this to trial. Here's all our evidence. Do you think this is a strong enough case to bring in front of a jury so we're not wasting resources, right? And needless to say, it took them 5 days to do. They had a lot of information, probably way more than they needed to. But I'm so glad the prosecutor did that. I think she's amazing for this case. I think she's not letting anyone, the media, people trying to get in the courts. I don't think anyone's really probably working harder at this point. I'm not saying the police and stuff like that didn't work on harder prior to this, but at this point, I don't think anyone is working harder than the prosecutor right now. So I think anyone, including media, people in the courtroom, people just yapping on YouTube like myself. I don't think, I don't think this lady's going to let anyone in her way. I don't think so. And I think she's probably working harder than anyone on this case. So for me, I'm just going to let her do her thing. But basically, I think she's doing amazing. I think she has her eye on freaking everything and everywhere, and I think she's like a sniper, basically, where she just sees what everyone's doing and calls it really quickly because she's protecting her case, i.e., protecting Celeste. And just with the preliminary information, keep in mind they probably didn't give as much information as they do have. I think they're holding it in. She went in. She went in the preliminary hearings and she gave a lot, and the judge said yes. The defense is pulling at straws. He was vile to her. Just to give you an idea, that did come out in the preliminary hearings. Keep in mind, at like 13, he impregnated. See, again, this gets me emotional. He impregnated her. Again, she was 13. This is like her first like real human event, like her first decade of like having, I don't know about you, but I had barely any memories before 10, right? Like this is her first decade of really experiencing life. And he basically used her body. He just used her as an object, and she thought it was love. She was finding out that this is not love, this was abuse, and she started sticking up for herself in the only way she knew how. He impregnated her. He made her have a terminating the pregnancy probably by herself because he couldn't go, obviously. And throughout the saddest part of the text, I think, were like, please don't get me pregnant again. Please don't get me pregnant again, because he'd want to meet up, and she'd be like, just please don't get me pregnant again. I can't hurt my baby again. Like, I can't. Like, it obviously wrecked her. And again, 13 years old, going through puberty herself. You know what I mean? Like, her first, like, maybe her, like, disgusting work. He basically just used the crap out of her. I feel so bad for her family. I hope they're not listening to anybody and just focusing on themselves. This is the time to be selfish and healing and thinking about your family, and rebuilding and trying to heal. And I hope people continues to focus on the real disgusting piece of crap, which is thing. There's a bunch more. I don't want to get deep into it. Maybe one day I will. I have notes from my previous podcast that I will. I will say, I don't know. People keep saying like, how dumb could he be? But I've watched recent interviews with people very similar to David, and the way they explain themselves is the way Dave would explain themselves. They're just stupid. They're not stupid as IQ wise, but they're stupid because they don't belong in human society, right? They've been mimicking their whole life. And then when you do get their real selves, their logic doesn't match up to ours because they don't see the world the way we do, right? The stuff he's done, he just didn't think he would get caught, because at this point he's pretty much AI as a human being. That he's AI. He's not. He's how we don't really fully understand AI. Like, we always make fun of AI. You're like, something's wrong here. We can suspect it, right? Like, this wasn't a human that wrote it. That's fucking David, right? Like, there's something wrong with him. You can't figure it out why. It's just you don't seem human, right? All right. That's it for today. Kitty says good night. But Kermit and I are gonna eat. I've just touched, like, I've probably taken this popcorn is never ending. We ordered popcorn from Cinemark and we probably have like a handful each, and it's like there's not even a dent in that. I feel like that is another glitch in the matrix where Cinemark's popcorn is like a never-ending bucket. So we'll discuss that on our next podcast. Hope this was not too weird for everybody, but I feel better that at least I got this off my head. And then next video, I will try and refocus on the cold case. All right. Thank you for listening. And as always, stay curious and stay tuned into the supernatural. Thanks for watching.